Hello, everybody. I'm Frank Wolff, VP of Uproar PR. Joining me today for a conversation on our Perfect Insight series is John Ryder, Senior Advisor with Consumer Convenience Technologies, the makers of the Easy Lid. We've had the privilege of working together for more than 4 years now. John and I, you and I have worked every one of those days. And CCT has really grown and evolved over that time, which has been very exciting for us to be a part of. Let's start by having you provide some background on CCT and especially the Easy Lid.
Okay, CCT is a company that's about 10 years old, and it is in business to create a lid that was easier for the consumer to open. And I came on board about 5 years ago. It'll be 5 years in June. And I went through the scenario of where they were going. And we had a CT, which is the continual thread product. And we started off with one, a CT, and which is this versus a lug. And this was the first product. And this is the product we went to market with to prove that the Easy Lid, whether it be on a CT or a lug, would go to market successfully.
And for our viewers, just show us the top of the lid and how simple this is, and describe for a little bit like what this does. What is the technology here that's allowing people to open a jar lid with half the amount of effort that it does for what we're normally used to?
Well, we reduce the vacuum, basically, and that's a simple statement for the average consumer and a listener that you have on here. You push it down and then you twist it off, and that's it. And then we explain it: push, twist, and open. And that's exactly what you did. And with now bringing it to today with the lid, we use Google Mo's, is with the lug, the same theory. You push, twist, and open, put it down. And to prove it, we went out into the marketplace and we created what we said the proof of concept, because the proof of concept was very important for us to move from one stage to the next. It's a $12 billion industry. It's going to 15 billion in years to come. So the management team said, okay, what we've got to do is throw some tests against this, which we did. So we went to Cornell University and we began what we call a 2-year testing process almost to make sure that everything was working. And the end product out of that is a white paper that certifies of everything we did. We've had every test there was. In addition to that, we went to Northcliffe consumer testing twice. We did the CT and we did the lug. And there was 2 separate sessions. And what happened on those results, there was a 90% satisfaction level, which is unbelievable. So we knew we had a product. And this certified it on all these people on opening the lid that was 50% easier. Then we needed another test to really take the market off, because being a supermarket operator for a number of years, I would always say, where did you test it? So we went to Boyer Supermarkets, 19 stores with Uproar. And we put the package together and we said, okay, here's the business model. Let's see if it works. So we took Uproar, rolled their talents, and took our talents on engineering and going to market, and took those 19 stores. And what happened as a result is we had, as you very well know, a 341% increase in sales versus a previous product. And the Boyer Supermarket people were ecstatic about what the relationship was. And so the biggest driver of those 341% was, one is people talking to each other at the dinner table and in the neighborhood, but more importantly is the PR that was placed out in the market by Uproar in newspapers, television, radio, industry papers, outside industry. So we tallied all that up. The PR in our market for us is we positioned it as kind of like an antenna. I always relate to PR as an antenna because you receive and beam and come back out, and you guys are like flashes. So as soon as it comes in, you guys get it out. It comes in, and it's real time, and that's what's exciting about it. And after spending many years in the supermarket business, I spent billions of dollars. I was corporate vice president of marketing for a major corporation, and then I had two other companies that I was CEO of, but over $1 billion. And I can tell you, I've always felt that the PR was more lively, even though advertising will get me faster results because I can go out and do it. But the bottom line for this type of company was that we could have more for our money, more bang for our buck by using PR than we could use advertising. As an example, at one time it was suggested that we go and run a commercial on the Super Bowl, a 60-second. That would have cost $2 to $3 million, you know? And I didn't think it was fruitful or beneficial for us to do that as a management team. We all agreed. And that's how we had. So the concept of using PR as an advertising vehicle or as a vehicle to get people in on the media is really what we're doing as a startup. So we've broken out of the traditional way of doing things. The three things that have really, as a team that we work for, is one is we research a project, which you were part of when we did the Boyer. Number two is we have the planning. And number three is the determined execution. And I can tell you, the guys that I work with and yourself, we are all about execution because that's the bottom line for us. And everything we follow up with, every customer call, everything we do, we check each other, and it works extremely well because, as you know, it just takes time. And this time next year, we'll be sitting here with, you know, a couple $100 million, maybe the $1 billion customer that we're talking to. It'll all change the scenario. But we've done our homework, our research, our planning, and our execution coming to that. So we've kind of earned our way there.
Yeah. And you started building the brand and the story of the Easy Lid way before you even had a production line.
That's correct.
And how important was that to start? You know, we started early. We started PR before you started production, before you could even have an assembly line to get products off there. Because I think the educational campaign was the first hurdle that we had to overcome, where the industry hadn't heard of you, didn't know this existed. You were really an unknown quantity. The company was, and the product was. So there was you really leveraged a lot of PR in that campaign in the early days to craft and tell the story and the true story of what it took to bring this lid to market and the story behind it. And tell us a little bit about the inspiration, about where this whole lid was launched back in that conversation between you know, Dawn and her friend Pete, one of the original founders. That was the spark that set this whole thing in motion.
Yes, and it was doing a lot of due diligence on our part to make sure that we could execute on that. And Pete Stodd and Jim both believe that, you know, this was a life-changing experience. So that's how we went. And Pete was the kind of guy, he'd always say to me when he'd say, what do you think about me being in, you know, I'm 60 years old and we're going to start another company from scratch. You know, he was motivated to do it and he wanted to do it. And so he didn't take it lightly or something, you know, whatever. And him and Jim have really took all their breaths and researches and timing and experience and education and bundled it all up to come out with a product. Pete really wanted this product, and Jim does it, obviously, very much so too today. This time, January, the end of January, we'll be on over 600 stores. So yeah, that's quite a feat for us. So and how far do we say that we're going to have in the next couple of years? Who knows? There's 63,000 supermarkets. You know, to say, you know, how many are you going to have in 2 years? Like, heck, if we have 10%, I'd be happy. That's 6,000 stores. But I think, you know.
PR is often hard to measure, especially in a B2B campaign. But our campaign in telling the story of the Easy Lid and the success that brands are having, both private labels and grocery stores, has resulted in a lot of inbound sales opportunities, which is a main goal of ours. Can you talk about the inbounds that you get just from people who have seen the stories, have heard of you, are familiar with the Easy Lid?
Yeah. Well, today we have four major companies that are doing the due diligence on us, which takes time. It takes a quarter, and one of them has actually been 3.5 years. We've seen this one customer 4 or 5 times, and we're finally to the position with them is we're going to run a couple thousand lids through their processing plant, and they are large and they are very big. The other one is over in Europe that we have, this guy's got over 11,000 stores that we're working with, and it takes time. So, because you've got to get to the nitty gritty of making a business plan for that business, how you're going to convert it. And another one is a regional guy, and he's doing extremely well, and he wants to make sure he's doing the right thing. And then we have another one, large international company that's in over 120 countries. So they're doing their due diligence, and they're unbelievable on amount of cooperation and we're getting from them to do it. So we got 4 that can turn the page of this company like night and day. And that'll happen probably in the first quarter.
In your sales funnel, how helpful is it for companies like that, for your potential customers to already have some familiarity with CCT and the Easy Lid before you have that first call or meeting?
Okay, that without a doubt helps us with the sale. And we've had one company when we were at the Fancy Food Show came up and said, hey, we read your article, picked up Forbes, and I heard about it in there, which is Forbes is probably the best home run that we hit with you so far. But it's very well received. We've broken our psychographic profile, and you've heard me talk about this before, because we got 10% of the people that are innovators. We got 15% early adopters, and we've got 2 of those right now. And 40% is early majority. That's where the money is. Well, we've got 4 potential clients that are ready to pick that early majority. That's really the money maker that will make the difference. And then we have 25% late majority and 10% laggards. We don't spend any time when we go to a show on laggards or late majority. We spend all our time on innovators or early adopters, and hopefully we can catch an early majority. But those guys wait and see. They want to see somebody else coming into it. That's why we're feeding. And so it's easy to say that by June of this year, we'll be easily over 1,000 stores.
It's interesting that you're doing with your partners, your potential partners, is incorporating PR into that partnership, telling them that you're going to get a PR campaign that's mainly focused on consumers, but also some trades, educating them on the Easy Lid, where they can find the partner's products. That's a value add that we don't see very often. How has that helped you in the sales process and in building those ongoing relationships with your brand partners?
Well, the reason we offer the PR as part of the package, as part of the bundling, is that we can control the brand of what they're saying out in the marketplace. A good example is Michael Anderson. We're going to market with him. However, all the meetings that we have with him, Brandon as an example, and you guys are all together. So we're out there together. So it's almost like HP and Intel. It's equal, and that's how we want it to be. And it's part of the branding process that we're out there. So the Easy Lid is a brand. We're not a commodity. We're a premium product, and that's where we want to be. And by doing that, we can do it. So it serves 2 purposes. One, it helps the manufacturer or the retailer. And second of all, it helps us as a company because we control the brand and the messaging and what it's supposed to be. And we're not going to give that up. As being part of the brand, that's our consistency. And you and I have talked. We do not want to pulse. I've been in that situation years ago where you take a little bit of advertising this month and then you go back 6 months out. It doesn't work.
Right. They'll
Well, and
forget
that's
about you.
why, that's right. And that's why with Uproar and CCT, it's every day, every day, every day. And that's what's nice about this relationship.
We've
So
talked a lot
you
about,
are our antenna.
we try to be, we've got a great partnership with you guys. It works. We talked a lot about your use of traditional PR campaign, but also you're also utilizing an influencer marketing campaign in the markets where brands are using the Easy Lid and it's on store shelves. How is that helping on the consumer front? Because it's one thing, we've got a B2B campaign, we need to get you new partners, new customers, but then when you secure them, we also need to help them get products moving off shelves with consumers.
Yes. And the influencer program, as you know, is about 3 months old that we've been on the program, and it's working pretty good to our taking right now and having more and more people talk about the product in the market. To tag it to exact sales or something right now, I don't think we can. But what I can say is, since we've been using the influencer, our sales trend in the Rochester market, we have turned it around in the last 26 weeks that we've had the Easy Lid with the influencer. It's just adding another element in our categories. So we are positive in double-digit numbers for those 26 weeks everywhere we've gone. So every test that we've had, we've been successful by taking the combination. And the influencers is something more, frosting on the cake and doing it better and better. And we're getting it. And the videos and the talent of the team is really there. So it's something that's going to be working long term.
And you can
We're
tell
not going
the
to pulse.
influencers are excited when they use the product, they get it, that comes across. It's really your target demographic speaking to others in that demographic.
That's correct.
One of the things I think CCT does really well is to focus on the end users, consumers, the real people who have arthritis or carpal tunnel or tendonitis, or they just had surgery recently, or they're just getting a little bit older. And they just want to be able to open a jar and make dinner for themselves or for their family. How do you make sure you never lose sight of the people component here? Because yes, it's a jar lid, but really, you guys are focused on the users and the consumers, and the fact that you're in a small way, you're enhancing people's lives when they're trying to make dinner.
Yeah. Every time that we go out into a market, whether we do an interview for a manufacturer or a retailer or whatever, we go in stores. I mean, Jim, Brandon, and I, we go in every store we can when we're in market. Some days I can tell you with Cody too, we've been in 25 stores in one day. We don't stop. We listen to the customer, we find out what's on the shelf, and we measure what the management team is saying about it, and we listen to everybody. I think that one thing is that we keep our ear to the store. And how do you continue to do that? I guess it's being a retailer or a manufacturer. You just got to live in the stores too, because we find out all the problems that we have. We knew who has the hardest jars, and they're set in their ways. So in-store visits, our blog posts really help us out. We listen to the customer and the customer experience. So that's a real hard one. And you just got to renew yourself almost every day or every time you're out in that market. We make stores in every market we go to, no matter what the time is. I've been in stores at 7 a.m. in the morning with a cart just laughing, going through it. But I mean, we listen to the people. And I think if you never give that up, you'll be okay with the customers.
Yeah, that's great advice. And people think it's simple, and sometimes I talk to people, I'm like, I got a jar lid as a client, and they look at me like I'm crazy, but they don't understand how complicated that product is and that market is, and that's a global market that you are trying to break into, and with twists and turns and challenges at every corner to, one, get that lid made, and two, get it on jars all across the country and really across the world.
That will happen.
I don't doubt it. John Ryder, thank you for sharing your insights and your expertise. Again, it's truly a pleasure to work with you and the CCT team. And I tell people all the time, mark my words, these guys have built a better mousetrap. It's going to be in stores all over this country before you know it. And then once you try it, you'll go, why did it take so long for someone to come up with this? Because like you said, it's a 75 years in the making, and nobody has been able to do what you guys have done.
Well, with that being said, this is Easy Rider saying goodbye.